Now, I wanted to show you something else. I have this cheaper visual diary. Now, this one I use mostly for testing pencils and textures and all sorts of things. Just for colour, I use it for my colour charts. You can see it looks a bit messy, but I just have this handy all the time just to test colours and see what they're like. And the other day when I was testing out some of my watercolour markers, which you can see here, I wasn't really impressed with the way they worked. And yet when I worked on my Canson paper, there was an entirely different result, and I wanted to show you that. And this is why I'm actually using the Canson paper and why I think it's better than, you know, other visual art diaries. You'll need to test yours, whatever one you buy. Just test it and see how it works, because I've just found they're not all created equal, the paper. So you will get a different result depending on what diary you get. But if you buy the Canson, you'll get the same result. So I wanted to show you a little demonstration. I'm using these markers. I'm going to be using my Tombows, they're watercolour markers, and also my distress markers, just to show you the difference and what happens on the paper when you use these. I'm also going to be using a Faber-Castell fine grip pen. I use this for lettering, and you can get some really cool effects with water. And I'm just going to be using my Pentel water brush for this demonstration. So I'll show you the difference with, first of all, the Tombow markers. So I've got here, this is the cheaper visual art diary. And when I say cheaper, I'm only talking a couple of dollars. Canson visual art diaries aren't very expensive. And this cheaper one, it was only a couple of dollars difference in price. So it's really worth spending that little bit extra and getting the better paper, I think. So I've chosen purple because that can sometimes really stain the paper. So it's a really good pen to test with. So I just wanted to show you, when I work on this paper, for instance, just move this over. So imagine if I was doing a petal or something. And now I want to bring the watercolour in. Sorry, not watercolour, the water pen in. You can see it does, some colour will come away, but generally that has parked itself on the paper and really isn't moving too much. Okay, now when this is a page I've ripped out of my Canson visual art diary. When I use the marker here, say I was doing this for a petal or something, bring in my water brush, and you can see the difference. Look at that, look how that ink moves on this paper. It's almost like watercolor paper. Now bear in mind, drawing paper is not meant for wet media at all, but I like to push the boundaries of my art materials, and so you can see here how beautifully that has spread on the paper compared to the normal one or the cheaper one over here. So with the distress markers, I've got Dusty Concord here that I'm testing out. Same thing. This is the ordinary visual art diary, and that's really not doing anything. But we use our Canson drawing paper. And look at that. It really just moves that colour around. And we get a really nice watercolour effect. Now, the fact that this isn't watercolour paper means we can't use a lot of wet media on it, but this paper holds up really well to these techniques, I have to say. I've really been impressed by it. Now, it will buckle, being 110 GSM paper, it will buckle, but that doesn't bother me. And often by the time I finish my work, it dries and I've closed my book, it actually flattens it out nicely anyway. So the buckling doesn't bother me, and it really does take a bit of punishment. As long as you're not going to scrub the paper, there's no problem using wet media on this paper. And even look on the back, it hasn't even really seeped through. So it's really, really sturdy, nice paper to work with. So the other thing I wanted to show you is the blending ability on the different papers. So with the Tombow markers, if I was to take my darker pen, and by the way, if you're interested, it's Tombow 636 and this one is Tombow 603. They're the two colors I'm using for the demonstration. So let's have a look at the blending ability. So if I come down with my dark color, then I use my light color, you can see there's really not much happening there in the way of blending. That's really, you can see that solid line, that's really not done anything. So, but on our Canson drawing paper, we'll do this, then come in with the light color and come over the top, and you can see it starts to drag some of that darker color, and then if we come back with the light color this way, you'll get a really nice blended gradient. And don't worry about contaminating your marker, just give it a little scribble and it will come out. But look at that beautiful blend compared to, well, really no blend on this paper. Okay, now the distress markers, so I'm going to come in with my Dusty Concord. And I'm using milled lavender to blend with, and again you can see there's really no blending action happening there at all. Okay, so we'll do the same thing on our Canson paper. Come in with our Dusty Concord, and now the milled lavender. Again, I come in over the top and just spread that. It doesn't work as well as the Tombows, but it still works. It still works, and it still gives us a nice blend. Now as that dries, that will blend even better. Now if you want some more depth down, say that was the base of a petal, you could just come back in with a dark colour. And the same with your Tombow. If you wanted it darker at the bottom, just come in with some more there. But you can see, even though it hasn't blended as well, it's still a nicer blend than this one. So you can see there's a big difference between the two. The other pen I use, again, as I said, is Faber-Castell fine grip markers, and you can get some really lovely effects with these. Now I like to letter, so say we're going to say, all right, we're going to say hello, and I put down a fair bit of ink like that. Hello. And then I come in with my marker, sorry, not my marker, my water brush pen here, and I just go over those letters, and you can see how the ink is spreading, and I end up with this lovely halo effect around my letters. And it's just beautiful how you can see the ink is actually separated here, and I've got two colors, so I've got the pink wicking out as well as the purple, and I end up with this beautiful ghosting effect. So I'll just see if you can see that. It's quite lovely, and once this is dry, we can come back in with our marker and firm up our lines, but we're left with this beautiful sort of soft halo effect. Now when I try to do this on this other paper, it worked a little, but not like this. So I'll show you, coming with my water pen here. Now you can see that I have got some wicking happening. There is some, but not like this one. This is really beautiful, and the more you leave that and let it dry, the more wicking you're going to get, and it just adds a really interesting effect to your letters. It's also great for highlighting words that you like in scripture as well. So I hope you like that demonstration. That's just showing the difference between papers. So I just know that the Canson paper works really well for these water techniques. Not so much this one, but you might find another brand that works as well as the Canson, in which case go with it. You know, this is the one that was available to me that I can pick up locally, and it's just worked really, really well. And as I said, I really liked this larger style, the A4 plus size. I like the plastic cover that it's going to keep my work intact. You can see the binding is beautiful on this, and also it has little elastics that can hold it in place. So yeah, I just love that Canson has made these visual diaries. They're just beautiful. So I hope you like that. I'm looking forward to bringing you more techniques, and we're going to be doing some reviews on different products, different pencils. So it's going to be a really exciting journey, and I hope you join me for it. But check out my blog and there'll be all the information there. So thank you, and I'll see you later.